Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, this is earthquake weather. It looked like it's 70 something, it feels like it's 80 something. That's definitely the type of stuff that you expect shakes to come from. Growing up in LA, it's just kind of what you expect when you feel weather like this. It's like, could this be that day? But I just wanted to get out the house. Honestly, wasn't feeling much better than I did yesterday. Mentally, physically, none of that. This has just not been a good couple of days for the BDF 44 as far as my outlook is concerned. I ain't been defeatist like I had been on my worst days when I was thinking about, I don't want to live and it hurts to walk. None of that. It's just being kind of, in need of positivity to insert itself into my own mindset. And I think I found some of that before I left the house just now. I was sitting up praying and telling the Lord how I was feeling, and then more or less it just came to me, we're going to take care of one thing at a time, because a lot of stuff that I was looking at is just compounded little stuff. It's not a big thing, it's just little stuff. And so the Lord was like, well, look, let's take care of one of those things. So one of them was going on benefits.com and seeing what I needed to do to be eligible for my Cal Fresh benefits coming up, which will be expiring soon. Now, I thought it would be expiring at the end of this month, but it's actually at the end of next month. So they needed me to recertify, submit proof of income, update all the information necessary, nothing to take longer than 25 minutes. And so I took care of all that. I gave them what I thought would be proof of income, which was a certification letter stating that I had been granted GR, which is information that literally comes from them, giving them their own paperwork, basically. But that's really all the income I had. And of course, I told them that I was getting like $500 from my family a month, for which would take care of this apartment. But the numbers don't actually add up. They've been giving me more than 500, so I probably should update that and let them know it's probably a little more than that. But none of it's going in my pocket for fun. It's all going straight to the hotel for rent. So it's not really, that's probably something I should probably go back and check out. But other than that, I also saw another paperwork that they had, which stated that they needed to reimburse me more money for GR, and I needed to submit some paperwork for that. So I'm glad I went off for that. That deadline was the 12th of January. So given the fact that I was able to take care of it today, which is like the 18th of December, it's cool. Problem is, I don't know if they want me to send it to them a hard copy of, because it said, just like it does on most of the paperwork that you submit digitally, send this back with a stamp and all that. But it's like most of the stuff you can send digitally, they just ain't gonna tell you that for whatever reason. I honestly think that stuff is in place to make life more difficult, so that more people will do things the wrong way, and then from there they don't have to give up the money. That's what I honestly think it is. It's making life harder on people because there's so many people. But it's one of those situations where I gave them, uploaded that paperwork, and signed it. Luckily enough, having gone through submitting paperwork to them before, now I know I can use Microsoft Office to sign everything, and it was easy to do. So that's the good thing about going through this. As I was saying in the previous video, when you know what to do as far as how to make life easier for you and the different steps it takes, you're not as stressed when it's time to do certain things. So anytime they have documented paperwork, I know I can use Microsoft Office to immediately take care of it. So it just makes the whole process easier for me knowing that. So I was able to upload the paperwork and get that to them as well. So I took care of everything that would otherwise need to be done there. And then there's an appointment. I think they sit on the 8th or something like that at 8 in the morning. Of course, they ain't going to let you know that unless you go on their website. Again, stuff that's meant to make life harder on people that they claim to want to help. But because I was on their website, I was able to see that there's an 8 o'clock appointment on like the 8th or something like that. I don't remember exactly what date it is, but I put it on my calendar here to answer the phone on that morning in between 8 and 10 a.m. For which last time they told me something like that was going to be the case. I didn't even call. But, this is how it is, man. California, they ain't really actually trying to help too many people. They know they have a lot of us. So if they can give us an extra third and fourth step on top of something that otherwise only needs 2 steps, maybe enough people will mess up and they won't have to pay them. So I think that's what it is. I really do. But so I got that information down and put it in my phone ready to go. So that's one thing that was on my heart. That was one of many little things, like, damn, my benefits gonna run out. Frustration. And then I just got the idea to, let's just get out the house, get some fresh air, do a video here, and just kind of focus on what may be possible. And so that's what I'm doing now. After taking care of that, it's like, all right, let's get out of here. So I think right now what I'll go down to do is take care of getting the few dollars out of the GR fund. It's like $40 left in there. Figured I'd cash that out, make sure that I have it in cash form, just in case something goes wrong tomorrow and I'm not able to get money for the hotel. That would at least be money for the hostel, because I know the hostel's $50. So I would be able to take what I have in my pocket right now, coupled with the $40 I should be able to get out of here, and the return, the deposit for the unit, albeit, as far as everything being clean in the unit, they give you a deposit if you don't make any mistakes as far as checking out on time and leaving the place all nasty. They will give you what I think it's like $15 return on deposit or something like that. I don't know how much the deposit is, but I don't think it's much more than that. And I can just take that to the hostel tomorrow, if everything goes well. If everything goes well, I don't know exactly how I would get to that hostel if this would the scenario, because I don't have anything in my account that would otherwise Uber me to that hostel. And while most of the time I could walk there, now I'm being forced to take my stuff out of the unit. So we ain't thought that far ahead yet, but at least we can have the hostel money in hand. Maybe I can have somebody let me borrow the money necessary to Uber myself down to the hostel, which literally should be like $10 or something. Maybe I can deposit that into the account by way of 7-Eleven. I think you can deposit things into your account just like you're able to take things out of the account of 7-Eleven for my particular bank. So I think that's how that works. I'm pretty sure I could deposit whatever little money needed to Uber myself to the hostel with all of my stuff. Now the problem is, you don't want to take all your stuff to a hostel, but again, if you ain't got no choice, you're certainly not gonna look as if you have any. So in that case, this would be worst case scenario, that my family wouldn't be able to send me any money tomorrow, which I don't think is going to be the case. Honestly, they haven't been delinquent on the money at all, really at all, for any of these problems. I'm thankful for it, but just in case they don't have the cash on hand, we'll be have to wait a day or something like that. That would be the worst case scenario. So good morning, puppy. This little guy right there. Good morning. At any rate, so just going to take the cash out of there and make sure I have it in my pocket, because they really can't do much in that account, given the fact that only a few places actually even allow you to withdraw money. Although you can use your GR ATM anywhere, but given the fact that it's $40 in there, might not hurt to have it on hand. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I realize I could probably use that ATM to Uber myself, but I would still need some of that cash for the hostel, and they don't take ATM at the hostel at all, so you would need to cash that out. That's another reason why I'm thinking that way. So yeah, I honestly don't think this scenario, I give this scenario maybe a 3% chance of actually happening. I think my family would be able to give me at least hotel money for the day tomorrow, but we leave room for what could go very wrong, because if for some reason something goes very wrong, I'd better be somewhat prepared, because checkout is tomorrow at noon. And so figured today's Sunday, I can walk down to this place and grab some. Another thing that's been on my mind that's bothering me is one of my backpacks has a bunch of holes in it. I don't it's at the top, luckily enough, so everything should be able to hold up, but I need a new backpack. The lesser of my two backpacks is completely destroyed from the last couple of times I tried to pack it in too much. So I'm bringing more stuff with me this time, more food is coming with me, and little stuff should make my overall transfer of all of my stuff a bit more heavy. But I am glad that I got that cooler that I purchased last time. That I was in NoHo Hotel. They didn't have a fridge there, and so I went and bought myself a cooler that I'm now very happy I have, because I can transport a lot of stuff in that. It's pretty hefty. All my food and stuff like that should be able to get in there. Now, one thing I definitely am looking at is oatmeal. I overbought oatmeal for what it is that's in front of me, and now I got 2 big tubs of oatmeal. So that's like space consuming, I guess is what you could say. You would much rather not be so heavy. And but it is what it is, man. Just gotta let those little things not barrel down on my head too much. And then there's as I said, the money hasn't been in the account yet, so I'm always anxious when that's the case, especially with so little time left. But like I said, my uncle usually is able to shoot me something, at least for the moment, while they're waiting on something that would otherwise take care of the rest of it. And given the fact that I'm not going to be checking in to this place until Tuesday, in direct theory of what should be normal, that should allow them some time, if something were to go wrong, to kind of secure the money during a weekday. So I sent them the information yesterday that this thing is expiring tomorrow. So tomorrow, all I really need is to be able to house myself for a night and get my stuff to that place, for which, if the money's in place, shouldn't be much of a headache at all. Just gotta physically do it. Uber myself there, and that's it. And of course, check in 2 hours early. Hopefully they allow me to do that. All that different stuff is just, we'll deal with that when it comes to that. Just like I did last time, all I had to do is put my stuff in the room and then just leave. Tell them I just need to house my stuff until it's time for me to check in. I don't mind walking away for a couple hours. It's not a big deal. But yeah, man, these are different things that we're thinking about in regards to the situation at hand, and hopefully from there, we can not have any trouble. Just at least putting myself in NoHo tomorrow, and then when it's time, get up in the morning, come back on Tuesday morning and do the same old routine. God willing, they'll have a room for me that'll be cheaper. I think they will have a cheaper discount. I overheard somebody saying that. They're going to have a cheaper discount for the holiday, just like they did last time. So if that's the case, it should not cost more than $300 to house myself for the first week. So hopefully I can get what I need for that. And check in on Tuesday for yet another contract with Studio Lodge Hotel. So that's really what's going on. I think one thing I want to say about Studio Lodge Hotel is they've been having a lot of people be upset with whoever's at their front desk these days. Last night we had the same situation again. Somebody cussing them out at like 3 a.m, waking me up because I'm right down the hall from the front desk. I don't know how often this actually happens, but since I've been here, it's happened twice in the last 4 days. And whoever's there in the wee hours of the morning doesn't sit well with whoever it is that's coming in at night, or whatever the case may be. But this is an entirely different lady cussing them out. Now my thinking was it has something to do with leaving the ID. I guess the person that they were dealing with wasn't coming in with the proper ID, so because of it, they wouldn't let them stay or something like that. But I think at that hour, they don't let you stay anyway. So it's one of those situations where if you're a guest for somebody else, you would have to leave ID at the front desk. But you do also have to leave by a certain hour because they have certain curfews on people. So it's one of those situations where I don't really know what was going on. I couldn't really make out everything that was said, but I know it ended with an F you. I know that. And holidays are hard for a lot of people, especially people in these circumstances that I'm in, given in these hotels that don't quite have, the highest frequency of people who have a whole lot of money, I guess is what you could say. There's a lot of people here that are doing bad, you know what I mean? And it's tough when people are doing bad, and then they're dealing with people that may not be happy to be at work. You know what I mean? It's a bad combination. And so that's what you're getting a lot of times. It's just, it's a lot of people around there who are one step away from being homeless, just like myself. They only have that place in between being homeless and being and sheltered. So, it's like, if people going through it like that, the people at the front desk, they can't necessarily be flippant and have a certain I don't give a damn. It just doesn't mesh well. And I'm telling y'all, I don't envy the people who work here because of that. Not only that, but the majority of them are Caucasian, and a lot of people who frequent this place are not. You get mostly Hispanic and black people and people from other countries here. You rarely see people check in who are Caucasian. So it's like, it may be a culture frustration, maybe, I don't know. But you get your clashes where people want to call people racist, where people want to cuss people out because they think, whatever they think. And I tell you, man, the one thing I've been thinking about a lot when watching this whole situation with Gaza is just how it feels to not have your own people somewhere. You know what I mean? Granted, as a black person, I grew up in a space where I didn't always have my own people around. But there's a certain level of uncomfort that I don't think a lot of us of color really give much credence to for Caucasian people who have to deal with everybody except their own people. And that's what I've been thinking a lot about while being here. And the workers here, like, how many people do they actually see besides each other that are white? And I look around, I say, like, nobody. And so, like, when I put myself in those shoes, I just think that it gets frustrating for anybody when you don't see your own a lot of the time, especially when you know that there's a lot of disconnect between yourself and others just off of the whole thing that's going on with this country and how it's always been. So I think it's a lot of that, man. I think it's a lot of that kind of makes for a very, very defensive type of energy that can be there for them, and a defensive energy that can be there in regards to the people that frequent this place. And I just feel like it gets frustrating just from the outside looking in. If I'm both sides, it's like you don't really know who's who and who loves you, who doesn't, who's indifferent of your struggle and who's not. But one thing I know is I've been here for several months, and I felt both. Really appreciative of how I've been treated, and really dismissed in certain times. And I just don't know how much that has to do with others who come around and then they deal with me type of thing. You know what I mean? You see enough of this for what they dealt with in the late night hours, and then I come up to the desk. It's like, now what do you want type of energy, And it's just like, I don't know how to really gauge that. I don't think I know what to think of that, other than I'm trying to figure that out and how to look at that myself. But that's really what it comes down to. They work hard around there. I know that. After being here for several months, I can tell you they're constantly moving. It's only a couple people in rotation, and they deal with it all. And so for me, I just try to be a beam of light sometimes. Come in there and say hello, get out the way, be kind, and get out the way. That's kind of how I try to approach it. Most of the folks are really cool, but sometimes they're not in good moods, man. And I just wonder how much of that has to do with all that we're talking about here. I wonder. And would that be the case if they saw more of their own people around here? I wonder. So that's kind of where it comes down to. I just think that when you're in a position to be around a lot of people of color and you're not of color in this country, the first thing that's going to happen when you try to put your foot down, try to maintain any order, is people going to think that you're being discriminatory against them. It just comes with the land, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. Even when you're not trying to be, that's going to be something people think about. They're going to be thinking about that a lot. Like, does this have to do with my skin? Would they do this if I was white? Would they do this? Would they care to do this if I were coming up here speaking a certain way that otherwise they can more or less relate to, rather than using my street dialect or whatever comes out of my mouth, how I am. Like me personally, obviously y'all see I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem. But when I look at other people, a good portion of them, they may end up running into that. It's like, yo, what do these people think of me because I'm speaking, how I'm walking, how I'm talking, where I'm from? Are they gonna treat me right? And vice versa. Who are these people coming up here looking like this? Are they gonna give me trouble? If I tell them no, are they gonna, whatever. So it's like, I just wonder how that is for them. And does that wear you down? Does that wear you down over time? That's one of the reasons why I don't want to work the way that people work. 9 to 5 every day, deal with the public 9 to 5 because I just think you get worn down at the niceness or whatever that makes you kind. When you deal with enough nonsense, it just makes you not want to be no more. You feel like you're learning lessons by stopping that behavior within yourself. That makes you kind to people. It's like, nah, I don't. I get my kindness taken for weakness, or that type of thing that may come into your mind. And when you don't have to deal with the public like that, to where you have to kneel at their every beck and call, you don't really have those problems. Unless your personality just lends itself to having that problem, for which mine, it really doesn't. I get along with people. But I feel like I'm like the 9th person to come through the door. 8 of them already been mean or rude or defensive. And then I come through the door, people rolling their eyes at me because they don't trust the energy. That's how I feel over here sometimes. Like I bring all my positivity or whatever it is I feel I'm bringing to the table in a positive light. And it's just like, what's your angle? It's what I'm being looked at. Or like, that ain't really you. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I get it. So, I don't know, man. I think the Lord is trying to help me learn certain lessons. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that I've been through over the last 4 months has really been good for me, very good for me. And so I don't doubt that whatever's next, while still being here, is probably just going to continue to add that on to it. I hope so anyway. I feel like it, but this is one of them times where I'm kind of like, all right, man, I don't want to be here no more, to be honest with you. Not to say that this place has been all that bad, but this room has been my least favorite room, so maybe that's part of it. But the shower's not being very warm, a good 90% of the time it ain't warm. And I got people next to directly next to the bed, outside smoking cigarettes, playing music, doing whatever they're doing in a lounge mindset. Right outside my window as somebody with anxiety. I hated it. I hated every second of it. And so for me, it's like I'm not exactly unhappy about moving out of this particular room. I'm not unhappy about that. I'm actually very happy about getting the hell out of that room. Maybe getting another room in a different space. Hopefully they give me a different room. But like, I'll be entirely too pleased to just find myself in a space where I'm not thinking about none of that, man. Where I just move on from that, be at peace, going in a different direction, and just hopefully from there, I having no problems, you know what I mean? And so that's really what I'm thinking. If anything, if there's anything at all I'm thinking is, that place give me so many troubles at times. It's not real troubles. How you doing, sir? Hey, what's up, Tony? All right, thank you. It's not real troubles. It's just like, finding yourself in a space where it's like, all right, the energy ain't for me. Let me find a different route for myself. Let me go somewhere else. Hopefully I can find a more permanent space. I'm not getting uprooted every 3 weeks. You know what I mean? That's really what it is for me, man. How you doing, man? All right. So, if anything, I'm blessed because the Lord has made me stronger in this situation. That's what I can take from it, and I feel stronger. I should have checked and see if they had any backpacks, man. Cause they got a yard sale they're doing out here. It's like, yo, man, if y'all got a backpack, I'd probably shoot you a couple of dollars for it. It'll help me. But I'm just walking right now, to be honest with you. The Target is right behind me, but I just wanted to walk, get some air, follow my voice. Hopefully good things will come with my mindset. And that's, I guess, doubling back to what we've already talked about. I'm fortunate to have been raised around a lot of different types of people. If you saw, I just walked past those Hispanic individuals, say hello, keep it walking, man. A lot of people would have been hesitant. Let me turn around. Like, I was raised around too many people of different religions and races and creeds and energies to where I feel comfortable in my own skin in the presence of other people, despite being antisocial in general. But when I'm forced to just be comfortable in the presence of others or walk past somebody or a group of people, I'm not one of those people that feel like I'm not going to be accepted. My energy is respectful. I was raised to be respectful. I was raised to be able to be adaptive to different places and different types of people. And while I don't often find myself naturally feeling like doing it, snapping into that, at the end of the day, I am very adaptive and very open to being happy in the presence of people who don't look like me. Whatever that looks like. And so that's what I hope I can be, man. Just better at that going forward. Much better at that. As it pertains to different people, different places they're from, and just being able to not feel uncomfortable like I've been describing to you. You know what I mean? So long as they're not treating me no funny, it shouldn't be no reason for me to think that they are about to, that kind of thing. So I think the Studio Lodge Hotel has been great for me. As I was sitting up in that room that I was very uncomfortable with last night, I was thanking God that the bed was comfortable just the same. You know, that I've had somewhere to lay even tonight. I got tonight to be there. I didn't got to spend a night in the cold at night. You know what I mean? Those are the type of things you weren't thinking about if you were me just 5 months ago. You knew you were going to be evicted, and you knew you would probably have to deal with something, but the details of what it is that I've dealt with since were so far away from me to what I respect in regards to it has changed so much to now it's like, yo, I know what I need to do in these situations. I have so much more mental strength, and for where I don't have strength, I know how to find it. And I think this is what you're seeing right now. A day like this, I'd have stayed in bed, been frustrated, all in my head, feeling like I want to quit on life. But you just go through enough of what I've just been through, and you just kind of you cope differently. Same start of those feelings, but not the same follow through in regards to them. And so that's what it is me following through differently. Okay, I didn't feel all that great, but I meditated. And through that meditation, I found the strength to address one of the problems. And through addressing one of the problems, I found the courage to get outside and do something I wanted to do, like get some fresh air. And then from there, I could find the mental strength to handle everything else. And that's what it was. It's lacking mental strength is what I felt I didn't have this morning. Like 3 weeks ago, dealing with this, when it was time for me to get out of the unit and go to no-hole, I felt stronger. Mentally. I felt sharper. Let's do it. Boom, boom, let's go. Blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm in here. Cool. No problem. This week, for whatever reason, I just didn't feel as strong spiritually or mentally. Same problem, same solution, same steps, but so much steeper of a mountain for me in my mind. And I've come to understand that it's just that it's in my mind. That's all it ever is with me. Mental hurdles. And maybe I got a few more things to carry. Maybe I have a few less dollars certain right now. But I was in the same boat last time with the same family helping me, the same circumstances, nothing different. And it's just one of those situations where it's like you got to work the mind out so that you don't psych yourself into being much more unhappy than what this situation demands you be. Much less active in helping yourself than what you would otherwise need to be with this level of problems in your life. I got these set of circumstances. They're not worse than this. So there should be a certain level of resistance that comes from within me to handle the business necessary to fix the problem. If they were worse, then I would need even more strength. But it's like you don't have to tell yourself that there's no way for you to find that strength. You have to look around and say there ain't no way out of this when it's really no different than what it was 3 weeks ago. And that is not different may not make you feel much better, but you don't have to hate it so much that you forget that you have the ability to turn to God, who can help you find the strength to fix the problems. And so that's what it is, man. I've turned to God. I found some strength. I addressed some problems, and I'm looking forward to addressing the others. And I feel good now that I'm out here, fresh air. You know, that's what it's about. Addressing your problem by doing the things that you can do within your control, so that whatever needs to be done outside of your control can be applied faith to. I need my family to do this and this. Well, I got God to help me with the faith on that. Maybe I don't feel as physically strong because I ain't been able to work out all week the way I wanted to. But that's all in my head, because I've also been doing more push-ups and more squats the other way. You know what I mean? And I'm allowing myself to heal with regards to this injury. So I'm going to be even better for it because of that. So it's a lot of stuff. It's like, yo, man, it's all in my head. And because it's in my head, I should be able to overcome it. And because I can overcome it, I should be able to stomach and fathom that early before it's even overcame. And so that's really what it is, man. It's overcome myself and let the Lord work the way he wants to work in my life, so I can learn these lessons, not take any steps back, not beat myself up for any steps back that have already been taken, if any, and just move forward, knowing that I have new coping processes, new coping ways that I can apply right now. And so that's what I'm showing y'all, man. It ain't an easy day in my life, but none of this has been easy. Just because I perceive that I can take a relax from these stresses every time I have a contract, now it's like I can breathe. That doesn't necessarily mean that the problem is fixed. It just means that I perceive it in such a way that allows me to breathe. That's in my head no different. If I'm looking at this process the right way, I'm never actually allowing myself to relax, nor am I ever allowing myself to get this frustrated. It just is what it is, and you handle it even kill the whole time. And so that's where I hope to get. That's what I'm hoping to find, you know, mentally, is that even keel spot to say, yes, I just signed a contract, but no, we still got the same problem. Yeah, the contract's ending, but it's still the same problem. And to be okay with that. Be literally okay with that. As I wait for the Lord to get me out of this situation, and ask him to work on my mind in whatever way necessary to find balance between allowing him to continue to teach me these lessons within this circumstance and being intent on getting out of this circumstance. So that's really what it is. It's a balance. It's like, yeah, I know God wants to do stuff here. If I didn't believe in God, I'd be doing everything I can to get money, to get out of this situation, or, you know, quit however I could, maybe take drugs to ease my mind, smoke more weed or what have you. Whatever I could do to kind of relieve myself of having to deal with this is what I would probably do if I didn't believe in God. Hey, buddy, here go another one. Hey, hello. It's not showing y'all dogs doing this all day long. But yeah, man, this is one of those situations where you just ask the Lord to give you the strength to address your problems the right way, so that you never get too high or too low, and that you always have the strength to both do what needs to be done and let go. So that's what I'm asking for. It's creepy as hell. I don't know why that creeps me out so much. That thing creepy as hell. I don't even know why. It just is. Sometimes you just go past stuff and you're like, man, that is creepy. It don't even exude any creepy energy. It just look creepy to me. I don't know why the hell that is. I trust my instincts though. I'm definitely keeping walking. But you know, that's what it is, man. I'm hopeful the Lord is still teaching me lessons in this situation. That's what I'm hopeful this is. Because I've felt for the last couple of days really, really stagnant, man. Like nothing is happening. Nothing's getting better. It's not necessarily getting worse, but it's just the same thing. And I'm not moving forward. I'm just aging while it's going on. And that's the worst feeling for me. Now, when I was in Lenox living like that, it didn't bother me as much for whatever reason. It just didn't bother me. Yeah, we stagnant, but I'm smoking my weed. I'm living the way I want to live. I'm in my comfortable room. And maybe if I feel like going outside, I might, but otherwise I'm where I want to be. But over here, none of that is what this feels like at all. And so I know a lot of that has to do with the enemy trying to make me feel more stagnant than I am. And I'm just trying to pray that off me while not getting too frustrated that I end up doing something that I had no business doing, or frustrated to the point where I feel like quitting like I did earlier on and all of that. I just don't want to take no steps back there. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel good as it pertains to my ability to withstand stress, as it pertains to not wanting to quit on life. I feel really good when it comes to that. Ain't no part of me want to die or nothing like that. Not now. But it's like, still you're like, damn, how long we got to go through this? It's like I imagine people who were walking around for 40 days and 40 nights and not knowing exactly how long they got to still keep walking. It's like, God, I learned everything from this. I don't want to deal with this no more. How many more nights we got of this? How many more days we walking? That's what this feels like. So while I'm not walking away from God, if he wants me to walk, then obviously he wants me on this path. It's good enough for me if it's good enough for him. But I'm now asking him for the strength, the second wind, the excitement, the great thing that'll help me understand something good is coming, or just the strength to know that this is going to be stagnant for a little bit, whatever it's going to be. Just make me feel better about what it is I got to go through here, so that I'm not just blah. You know what I mean? Taking steps backward in my spirit because I'm just frustrated or whatever the case may be. So that's where we at right now. That's exactly where I am right before Christmas 2023. And a part of me feels like this is like the enemy's last hurrah in regards to trying to make me frustrated about this year. It's been a long year. It's had some real serious lows, some real serious change that I did not appreciate took place here. And I think the enemy had a good run in regards to 2023 with me. He had a good time. And to be honest with you, I don't really feel like he really got a whole lot out of me at all. I think the Lord has done a lot more with me than the enemy has, but it wouldn't be right if he didn't try to make the last couple of weeks of a year that he's basically been affecting so strongly difficult. It wouldn't be 2023 if it didn't have more difficulty attached to it, is what it feels like to me. And so as I strengthen myself through prayer, I just understand that I got to keep fighting that, for which makes me even view it that way, so that I'm not allowing that enemy to walk on into that life of mine and continue that process. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like the enemy will always try to frustrate you and make you feel like you're on a long road, when really you only got a few steps left. And so that's kind of what it is. It's like, yeah, this year almost over. Whatever came with this year, believe me, what came along with that was strength, maturity, respect, closer relationship with God, understanding and just the information, you know what I mean? A resourcefulness of how to deal, a regained respect for paying things on time, for which I had let go all the way out the window. Just a healthy respect for money and what it really means in your life once again. And when you don't have it, and how struggling things can be. I guess it's not the right way to word it, but how much of a struggle things can be when you don't have it. And it just gave me another resurgence in understanding that. You gotta respect not just wasting money, you know what I mean? You gotta respect paying people on time. You gotta respect going through homelessness in a different way than I would have been able to going into this year. I don't respect it very much. And it's tough, but that's somebody else's life. Now it's like, no, I can relate. And this is what you need to go do if you go into this situation. These are your resources. This is how you get yourself through the stress. Pray, all of these different things. Like I had to go through it now. So I get it now differently. And I'm happy I do. Even though it ain't no fun going through this. It's good for you when you go through it. Just like any other experience. And so as I go through that, it's like, all right, I learned that. do you want me to continue to learn that? Like, how much more learning do you want me to do? Is what I'm asking God. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. How much more learning do I have to do? How many more of these steps do I have to take before you're satisfied with what I'm going through and then proceed to push me on to a different space? And will that space be better? When you go through what I'm going through, it's like maybe that space ain't no good for you. Maybe the next space is even harder. You know, how much strength are we trying to put onto me in a short amount of time? That's what I ask my God. But, you know, just like anything else, you just take it on the chin, whatever He gives you. You don't tell yourself it's worse than it is just because it's daunting. You take the strength that comes with it. And so that's what I'm telling all of y'all. Just take the strength that comes with it. Not everything is going to be good. Not everything is going to be as bad as you may think it is when you're going through the worst you've ever been through. It may not, you know, you may end up looking at what's so bad as something that's not so bad once you get through it. But the point is, put God in it. Let God involve Himself in your circumstance so that when you do face it, you don't find yourself so frustrated that you do things that otherwise keep you in it even further, or take you having, or give you steps in the situation that aren't necessarily meant for the situation at all. You know, so that's what it is. I ain't trying to take no steps back. I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to figure out if I want to walk around this park. They've cut off the exit over there. On that side on the street, sometimes you'd often see me walk through the gate. They put a little mini gate up to kind of block that off so homeless people couldn't walk through there. So if I walk down there, I know I got to walk all the way back. And that is not necessarily what I'm signing up for at all. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I just wanted to free my mind today, man. I wanted to get out of that room for an hour or two. Even if it ain't a whole lot to do out here, just get out of there. Reset. Let my mind think about what it is that I want versus what it is that I have been frustrated about. And understand that the money situation is not within my control right now. I'm doing everything I think I should in regards to qualifying myself for what it is that I've been waiting for 5 months. And that's what not working is all about right now. It's giving SSI all the data it needs to see me qualify for what it is that I've been telling them I need, which is support, so that I don't have to be required to work. And they sent me paperwork telling me they don't expect me to work because of my mental health. So now it makes all the sense in the world for them to give me money necessary to take care of myself. If they say I'm good enough to get that paperwork that says I'm nuts enough to not be expected to work for a whole year, then it's obvious they need me to have some type of way to pay for myself in order for what they're certifying to make any sense at all. And so that's really what it comes down to. Are they open to making sense? Or are they just doing whatever they want to do? As to which, if that's the case, then that would make it so that what they're doing has no credibility. And when you're assessing people's mental health, the last thing you want to not have is credibility. So that's really what it is, man. I'm not expected to work until October of next year, based on what it is that's been sent to me. They don't give you that if you're capping about your mental health. They don't, you know what I mean? If you're not somebody who needs help with certain things mentally, that would not even come your way. So that's what I have to say about that, man. I don't look at myself as an invalid right now. I probably could work right now, to be honest with you, but I wouldn't keep the job, is what I've often found. Or I probably wouldn't perform very well once I got there. I performed pretty poorly, as a matter of fact, is what I expect. And you know, getting the job out of necessity, has never been something that I would tell people has always been a problem. I've had jobs, I've worked jobs. I worked jobs for 3 years. You know what I mean? But it just gets to a point where you start to be more self-aware about what ends up going wrong in your situation. Your performance goes left. Your willingness to keep working goes left. the need to take care of yourself by way of that job tends to disappear, which is a very abnormal trait. People get fearful of what it is I'm going through, so they go to work. And I walked right into this space without as much fear of it as I did of just having to continue to work that job every day. And that's what's awry. Now, whether they have a name for that, if the science of mental health has figured that out or not to be something that's real, I don't know. It's not what I'm here to argue. Whether I'm qualified by way of what it is they expect makes sense. But what I can tell you is the need to work is in place and the need to not work is in my head. And I ain't been able to turn that part off ever. And trying to explain that to a shrink, she didn't quite get it at all. And I'm sure most people don't either. But it doesn't mean I'm anywhere closer to doing what I need to do to take care of myself. And so because of that, I need more work, more help, more work on my mental health is what I'm saying. And then from there to be able to take care of myself later on when I have all that under control again. And so me trying to get a job right now wouldn't be hard. Me trying to work that job would be very difficult. And they say if you can't work, this is what qualifies you. I don't know if that means I can't work, but try to keep the job would be difficult. So maybe that's not good enough for them. But when I told my therapist what I did when I was trying to quit that job, what came to mind and what I was doing, her eyes perked up. And I told her I was driving 180 miles an hour, screaming at the top of my lungs. That made her understand that this wasn't just somebody saying, I don't want to work. No, this is somebody who probably gonna snap if they do work, if it was any indicator. And so that's what it is. I don't think of myself as somebody who would snap. I don't think I would allow it to get to that point anymore. In fact, the only reason why I even let it get to that point is because I was trying to hold those shares, for which was very much of a daunting task mentally in and of itself. Trying to hold on to AMC and then continue to watch it deteriorate with all of my money in it. That kind of thing that was hard enough in and of itself, man. Struggling with that was probably more than half of the problem. And so now that is a bit more stable in my mind, I've let go of most of those shares. It's still decreasing in value as we speak. I'm keeping a half eye on it. It ain't moving in a positive way. I don't feel bad for being outside of it, though it can squeeze any day. We all know that, but we also know that those who are in position to hold them accountable are not holding them accountable, just like we see in other areas of our existence in this world in 2023. People are doing evil stuff, and the people who are supposed to be holding them accountable are people they control. It's what's going on in 2023. And I don't think that's a coincidence that those two things are behaving in the same way. I think it's the same people. So, it's one of those situations where it's like, man, I'm living my life. I don't have time, nor did I ever have time for some of the fights that I was in, giving away half of my 30s to fighting them in regards to AMC and GME and fighting for the betterment of the stock market, just for them to sit back and say, nah, we're not going to do right. We don't care if you see us or not. It's like, well, God are going to have to take care of that. That's not a fight from within my position. I can do anything but get bitten by that fight. You know what I mean? And that's really what it is. You hold your shares responsibly if you can. If not, you only invest what you can hold. And that's where I was trying to fight them. Like I was trying to invest with the intention of taking care of myself so that these problems that we've been discussing for the last 50 minutes could be taken care of by way of that investment. Two different situations that needed two different types of applications of my mental health. I needed to handle my mental health a different way and not think that was going to fix this. It wasn't. And so now that I understand that, it's like, well, I don't even equate the two things. It's like I'm holding my shares because I want to see the stock market be fair. I'm also addressing my mental health and thinking that that's probably not going to take care of me. And if I were immortal, we could hold those shares forever and wait for the squeeze. But given the fact that I'm already almost 40, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. I got to find my way another way. And if that happens in my lifetime, great. If it doesn't happen in my lifetime, then we believed in it the whole time. And it'll happen to somebody else's in the next generation's lifetime. But as far as that's concerned, you can't sit there and wait like you got forever to do so. And so that's what I've learned in this situation. I'm not the same guy as I used to be in that situation. I'm definitely somebody different now. And in addressing these situations and these problems with people who want to not hold themselves accountable or want to pay to keep themselves from being held accountable, you just got to look at it and say, there goes the devil in two different spots doing the same damn thing, like we always say. And Gaza in that situation, and UN supposed to be holding them accountable, and all these different World Health organizations supposed to be holding people accountable for not, being inhumane in whatever ways, and not holding them accountable at all. they just sitting there acting like, hey, yo, these are my bosses. We gonna stop you, common man, for doing this evil stuff. But if the people who pay our bills are doing evil stuff, there's obviously nothing we can do. And that's really what it is. That's exactly what's going on in both the stock market and in regards to that situation. So until the world figures out how not to value money over its own life, like I needed to figure out in regards to AMC, it's going to always be holding on as if it has forever when it doesn't. See how that parallels? It parallels very, very clearly, if you ask me. So, I don't think the world doesn't have to learn the same lesson I just learned. You don't have time for that. You let people go crazy and do all types of inhumane stuff in the name of money, the money's gonna be left and you're gonna be gone. That's what happens to humanity. The only thing that's gonna be left is piles of money all over the place, and no humans to spend it. And you let these erasers continue to erase stuff that shouldn't be erased. It's the same thing we said about the stock market. The parallel just flips back to it. Your naked short selling is erasing companies that need to be in place in order to keep your world more comfortable. You're letting people inflate your entire economy with money that isn't represented by gold, simply because the short-term effects of it can put money in your pocket. You're going to destroy the world for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, and everybody else by way of this inflation process, and you're selfish behind. And you don't care nothing about that because you're just trying to line your own pockets. But it's the selfish and unwise that ultimately destroy everything for people of the future. A good portion of the time, the selfish and the unwise. And that's what we need to do something about, man. We need to look up and say our lives ain't the only lives that matter. If you got some kids that you care about, then you need to not leave them in a world where they're hated for something that you did, or worse off because of something somebody else did. And if you're not going to do that, then you're going to be part of the problem, and we hope the next generation figures that out, so that they don't pass crap on to future generations past them. That should not be. And so that's why I was holding my shares. That's why I speak against what's going on in Gaza the way that I do, is because I understand that. I understand that deeply. We just going to be pushing forward worse for our kids and pushing forward worse for our grandkids and making it so that life is harder for them just by the stuff that we allow, trying to get what we need for ourselves. No different than those who did it behind us weren't any wiser to not do that themselves. So that life is that much more complicated for us today. So at some point in time, we got to learn that every life goes away, whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor, you are all going to pass away. And you're passing the world that we're in and all the policies and everything that you do to others. And for those who are not humane enough to care about that, who only care about what's going on in their own lives, or unwise enough to not do anything that benefits anything past their own noses, those are individuals that the rest of us, those who are wise enough to know, we need to get those people out of places from which they control stuff. It is not best for them to control things anymore. It's just not. You let the selfish and the unwise and the highly corrupted control all of what matters, your foundation for what it is that does matter does not stand. It dies with them and their plans. That's really what I have to say, man. So I hope we're wise enough to know it. And I hope to leave that wisdom behind. I hope I register with somebody. It resonates rather with someone who can really, really affect that change positively. If no one's going to listen to me in my lifetime, if they're not going to be but 500 people who know I'm alive saying this, then some of you 500 people need to be pushing this out to the 500 million that will listen to you, because that's really all it's about. I don't care for myself as it pertains to exalting myself with my message. It's about the message itself. I really don't care who says it. We just need to get this message out so we can stop leaving the world worse for our kids, man. We really need to stop that. Every generation does it to some degree, and at some point in time, we're just making life worse and worse and worse for somebody who's just gonna keep making it worse and worse and worse for somebody else. And yeah, you don't have to live to see that. Maybe you don't believe in God. Maybe you don't think nothing happens to you for doing that. But shouldn't you still not be a jerk, you know what I mean, to the future generations just the same? Why do we always have to look at it and say, I'm gonna be punished? Or I'm gonna be, you know what I mean? Why does that have to hold you accountable? Why can't just the decency of not being worse for somebody else, for the sake of somebody else not being worse for you, be enough? Why we gotta say, okay, God's gonna come back and punish us, so we better get it right? What if, even if God ain't coming back to punish you, somebody didn't blow the world up 100 years ago so that you could be walking around? Wouldn't it at least be a good thing, a decent thing, a reasonable thing to not blow up the world today so somebody else can walk around tomorrow? I don't understand why we have to be supervised about every damn good thing that we do. Why do we have to be fearful of what could go wrong for us in order to want to do something right for somebody else? The selfishness is just unwise. It deteriorates the world in the future. It makes the world a desolate place. There's nothing left. If we just keep kicking this can down the road where the only thing that matters is us and we don't care what happens to anybody else, it's not gonna be nothing left. Anything you build, anything you hold true, anything anybody else holds true, it is all destined to fail if we keep this selfish mentality, is I get mine, you better get yours mentality going. Especially when things are not balanced across the board to begin with. So that's what's on my mind, man. I get that I have to do my part too. Everybody's waiting for somebody else to get it right. You got to start in the mirror. But it just gets to a point where it's like, dog, why does God have to punish us into behaving properly for one another? And then we walk around and be angry at the world for being worse. Be walking around angry at the world for your bad day. Somebody didn't give a damn about you, and that's why things are so bad for you. Wouldn't it be wise if you don't contribute to that? Wouldn't it be a solution to that you don't keep doing that yourself? And a lot of people are like, well, if I don't benefit from it, I don't care. And there you have it. And that's exactly what the ancestors were thinking when they left whatever it is you don't appreciate here for you to be struggling with. I mean, that's exactly how they felt. They didn't care because they ain't gonna be here. They ain't here now. They ain't gotta deal with all this, whatever it is that you're unhappy about, whatever sufferings you might got going on. They ain't gotta deal with it. You're just like them, man. Don't complain. Celebrate your suffering, because that's exactly what you're pushing forward to somebody else. That's the truth. BDF 44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.